Picture this: captivating storytelling, enhanced production, and a whole new way to reach your audience or reach a brand new audience. How? By making your podcast into an audiobook. Hear me out here. There is a massive audience of audiobook enthusiasts who are hungry for exciting stories and valuable knowledge. Seriously, and I've got receipts. Here is the data from Edison Research's Share of Ear report for Q1 2022. The overall share of time spent listening to audio, share of ear, for audiobooks has grown 106% since 2017. Daily audiobook listeners spend more time listening to books than any other form of audio, including radio and podcasts, etc. Daily reach of audio consumption has grown 94% since 2017. Right? I'm Elsie Escobar, Director of Community and Content for Libsyn, and in this video, you'll hear from longtime podcaster Kamuela Kaneshiro from the Legends from the Pacific podcast, the Pacific Islander version of the Grimm's fairy tales, as he answers 5 questions as to why he created an audiobook from his podcast and whether or not that is right for you. Are you ready? Take it away, Kamuela.
So the audiobook and ebook were always part of the plan since day one. I wanted to start building a platform to get people interested in what I had to share for them or share with them as far as our cultural stories. And it was just a matter of time up until, I believe, episode 50, I was going to start putting out a book, had a successful Kickstarter. The only issue is that COVID happened and everything was put on hold. Prices went up, supply, demand. So we're really behind on that. I should actually be on book 3 by now, but I'm just doing what I can to get everything back up and running now. So I knew it was time because it was a little over a year since we've done the podcast and we had a successful Kickstarter. And I knew my background as a writer. I've been in the film industry for over 20 years, working on various projects. I've written books before, and I started podcasting back in 2004. So it was just a question of it's time to combine my production for editing as well as podcasting, film, storytelling, writing, and then combining everything and then a book or an ebook. So that's when it was, I wanted it sooner, but at the same time, I wanted it to be a little over a year. And so we had the successful Kickstarter in May for Asian American Pacific Islander Month or Heritage Month. So there's a big difference between audiobooks and podcasts because podcasts are essentially free. So the entry is a lot lower. Audiobooks, people are paying money essentially to get an experience. So that's why you need to look at improving things. With all due respect, podcasts have been compared to like college radio level, and think about audiobooks, a big budget movie where you can hire multi-award winning actors or actresses that have a following, and that will open you up to other listeners, other potential listeners that are fans of them. And coming from my background as the film and television industry, I understood that. My audiobook was narrated by Emily Wu Zeller, who's a multi-award winning voiceover actress. She's done anime, Cyberpunk 2077, the video game, as well as over 500 audiobooks, including Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back from a certain point of view, which also featured John Hamm from Mad Men. So I was very fortunate to have such a high caliber actress, and she has a huge following as well. And so all those fans and all those other people found out about our podcast because of that. And I've noticed an increase in numbers. Recently, just last week, in fact, I went over 150,000 downloads. And our podcast has been around for just over like 2 years, 3 years now. And so that was huge. The specifications were from people that I know. I know a lot of professional writers. They are able to help me as far as what the audiobook requirements are. And basically there's distribution channels that state what their specifications are. But you have to remember there are things like Amazon or Audible, and they have very specific guidelines where if you don't meet them, they will not carry your audiobook at all. 3 things that podcasters should know about doing an audiobook is 1, you have to be honest with yourself. Anybody can record an audiobook, really. Would your fans pay you for this audiobook when you can do it for free? That's one of the reasons why I did not do my audiobook, was because people can hear me tell our stories for free through the podcast. I went with Emily because she is more experienced with conveying and bringing our stories to life. And for an audiobook, it's just a lot more for what Emily is able to bring to the table because she's a professional. Number 2, it takes a lot of time to read your audiobook when you could be doing other things. Like, honestly, you could be making a new episode with this time instead of redoing something you already done. Hiring somebody, a professional, and giving your audience, your listeners, a different perspective is a great option. The third thing is podcasters should invest in making an audiobook cover that's different from their podcast artwork, because things like Spotify will have both the podcast artwork separately from the audiobook artwork, so your listeners won't get confused between the two. This is an interesting question because it's a creative way of asking which one of your kids do you love the most. It's really tough because my team and I research all the stories, but I write everything. Part of me is with all of the stories. So the Dr. Glenn Grant episode was pretty close because he and I were good friends. We formed the Hawaii Ghost Hunter Society. Businesses and residents hired us to investigate their hauntings and unexplained phenomenon. The Kamehameha episode and the Night Marchers episode are close to me because my ancestor was Chief Kaiana, who was King Kamehameha's right-hand man and most trusted advisor. So Jason Momoa is currently working on the Chief Kaiana series on Apple TV, and that's my ancestor, so it's been pretty cool to hear about that. Another story that was popular and resonated with a lot of people was the Wendigo story. And that was a 2-parter because it was very long. I feel that part of Legends from the Pacific is out there to establish a record of these stories before they're lost to time. It also provides our listeners, I hope it provides our listeners some guidance in their lives by saying that there's these obstacles metaphorically out there that are trying to sway you from your goals, trying to affect you in a certain way, like the Wendigo story, where it was about greed and self-consuming, but just being true to ourselves and being who we are. It's okay to do that, no matter what the other obstacles out there are trying to make or change you in a certain way. Be who you are. Joseph Campbell said that a lot. You must maintain your humanity and be who you are, follow your bliss, and try to be a working cog in the greater machine of our community, but at the same time, remembering and keeping your humanity.
Thank you so much, Kamuela. And if you want to listen to the podcast, keep up with it, you know what you need to do. Go ahead and search for Legends from the Pacific wherever you get yours. And of course, if you would like to buy the audiobook, we will link all of that in the description for this video. So what do you think? Are you ready to tap into a bigger audience by turning your podcast into an audiobook? Let us know in the comments. We would love to hear from you. And if you want to get more insight into all things podcasting, make sure that you subscribe to the Libsyn channel because we aim to make sure that you keep on podcasting. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.